Minnesota, the home of America-hating refugee Ilhan Omar, is unveiling a new flag designed to replace its existing flag, inspired by the Somalian flag. Progressive Ilhan Omar is Somalian, as I stated before. The state made sure the committee was very diverse. Includes people on Indian Affairs Council, Council on African Heritage, Latino Affairs, and Asia Pacific Minnesotans. So basically, this was a big conglomerate of who can be the wokest. And they said, you know what? Let's get really, really woke and turn Minnesota's flag into the Somalian flag.
My God, was that gross? So there's not a day that goes by that here on the Damage Report we don't have to deal with a conspiracy theory that is so stupid that for a rational person it makes you want to stick your head in a microwave. But we have a particularly stupid one for you here. And yes, as that racist moron was saying, there's concern over the changing of the Minnesota state flag, a conspiracy to elevate Somalia above America. So yes, they did change their state flag. Here's the original design. And I know what you're thinking when you see this. Who would ever want to change that banger of a flag? It's super cluttered, man. Get with the program. People are looking at these things on digital devices, they're small. But anyway, if we zoom in, here's the issue. People had an issue with the fact that there is an indigenous man riding off into the sunset as a white farmer tilled the land, which in the extended version of that clip, that guy mocked anyone who was concerned about that, saying, oh, I'm so offended. Oh, yes, it's so weird that something that doesn't affect a specific group that you're a part of doesn't bother you. That definitely says more about society than it does about you. But anyway, the concern is that the new flag is too much like the Somali flag. So on the left, you'll see the new flag. On the right, you'll see the Somali flag. And images like that are all over Twitter, with conservatives being like, look at this thing. They just took the Somali flag and then they made it the Minnesota flag, probably because of Ilhan Omar. There's a small problem. That's not the flag that they actually passed. This is the flag that they actually passed. Notably less like the Somali flag, and they don't seem to care at all. Nope. The fact that they were freaking themselves out over a design that wasn't the one they chose, they don't feel the need to retract, delete their prior comments, comment on it. They're just moving on. Now, what they were freaking out about, Rayyvana, was an earlier draft flag that could have been passed. Now, if they address this, and I'm sure they won't, because I want to be very clear, they don't actually care about this at all. They just need to be freaked out about something performatively for an hour and then they move on and forget that it ever happened. They might say, oh yeah, well they were gonna do the Somali flag thing, but then we pointed it out and so they backed off. Well, first of all, if Somalia is taking over America, why do they care if you pointed it out? They're apparently so powerful, they should have just gone forward with it. But I have an alternate explanation as to why it might have looked briefly kind of like the Somali flag. Here are some that were submitted. These are a bunch of different submissions. It was an open thing. And you might notice that they're kind of similar in some ways. A lot of them have the colors of the Somali flag. Now, why is that? Were there tons of Somali Americans just flooding the submissions? Or is there potentially a simpler explanation? Which is that the rules mandated that you use the colors of the Minnesota brand color palette, which include those colors. And by the way, you know what else includes those colors? A whole hell of a lot of flags from around the world and America. It is all over the place, localities and counties and states and countries. And by the way, you probably can't see, but down there at the bottom is the flag of the NYPD, which uses the colors of the Somali flag. Which tells me that this thing goes way deeper than we thought. Ilhan Omar has taken over the NYPD. Rayyvana, what do you think?
I think that that's something that we should be looking into. It's very scary. It's funny though that Ilhan Omar had nothing to do with this contest whatsoever. She's just she's a congresswoman from Minnesota who is a Somali American. So naturally they had to find a way to tie her to the flag contest and somehow, tie that into their racist, xenophobic conspiracy theories that somehow a very small group of the American population is so powerful that they're taking over one state at a time, one flag at a time. But I did check to see if any of these conservatives who were so outraged by the supposed new flag flag of Minnesota had deleted their tweets once they realized that that's not the new flag of Minnesota, because they always say that they care so much about the truth and they're just trying to get to the facts of the matter. And not one of them deleted their posts with the false flag. Yep. Literally the false flag.
False flag. By the way, I'm gonna show you some examples. So it's all over the place. Minnesota releases new state flag. It is a strange resemblance to the Somali flag. Are Minnesotans okay with this? Is Ilhan Omar available for a comment? This is how you take over a country without firing a shot. Is it? Let's say that was why the flag looked that way. Have they taken over Minnesota because they had the flag? Did a single one of these people tweeting about this know anything about what the original Minnesota state flag looked like? Do you know what your state flag looks like, honestly? Tim Pool, intellectual, tweeted, "Y'all are conquered." And again, he's an independent thinker, man. He's not just some brainless, like boneheaded right winger. And yet he, like all the others, notably, did not stop for 1 second to consider alternative hypotheses. They saw a tweet that said, "It looks like Somalia." And then that was it. They all have the Elon Musk approach to things. Does this comply with the way I want to think about the world? About the things that I think are good, the things that I think are bad? Not a single second of research. By the way, it took me like a minute to look up what were the rules, because I suspected, I looked at that list of the submissions and thought they do all kind of look alike. I looked up the rules, and that's how I discovered it. It's super simple if you actually care about this. But it's this weird thing where people who are conspiracists, which means that they want some sort of behind the scenes explanation to everything that happens, are super curious about that. And they'll do all sorts of research on 4chan, reading posts and everything, but they won't do a bit of research that might unearth an alternative explanation that is not in fact sinister. And they're not going to apologize, mostly because they don't care. Tim Pool is not losing sleep because he thinks Somalians are taking over Minnesota. They're grifters, they don't care about any of this stuff. So I don't care about him, but it's weird to me, Rayyvana, that there were so many right wingers responding to their tweets, legitimately freaking out over what they saw as an invasion. None of them seem to care that every one of these right wingers got it wrong and isn't apologizing for it. They're not learning from it. Why doesn't that bother people?
It's funny because these are the same people who will call us sheep. Everyone on the left is a sheep, but you see a post from an account on Twitter called End Wokeness. And you're like, that's a reliable source of news. I'm not gonna do any further research. I'm just gonna accept that this is fact, which is ridiculous. I'll say though, you said Tim Pool, not a boneheaded right winger, but he is a bald-headed right winger.
That's unfair, okay? And beneath the dignity of this program, I say, as I generate images for a mascot for the concept of the deep steak that someone was talking about in chat. And I just think it's a hilarious way to mock those who find a conspiracy theory behind everything.
For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.